So today we're checking out the MaonoCaster AME2 audio mixer. And this thing is packed with features if you're looking for a budget mixer that you can use for streaming, gaming, podcasting, or pretty much any sort of content creation. I'm going to give you a quick tour of all of its features as well as my overall thoughts from a user experience perspective so that you can decide whether or not you should buy it. And before we begin, and as a disclaimer, Maono sent me this unit for an honest review. However, no money exchanged hands and they don't get to see this review before you do. And let me not waste your time and let's get straight into the review. As far as what comes in your box, you're getting a bunch of documentation to help you get started. You're obviously going to get the mixer, a USB-C to A cable, and two 3.5mm to 3.5mm TRRS cables. A very neat feature this has is that it's battery powered, so you can take this on the go and use it without needing to be connected to an outlet. That said, I would have loved seeing a second USB-C cable for powering or charging the device. As usual, I am not going to waste too much time on specs, so I'm going to place them somewhere on the screen so you can see them for yourself. Starting with the build, this is pretty much made out of plastic. It doesn't feel premium or hefty, despite having a 2000 milliamp battery inside. The battery lasted me about 6 to 8 hours throughout a workday of on and off use. As far as the actual buttons on the unit is concerned, they are rubberized and feel mushy. Not really my favorite feeling buttons by any means, but they get the job done. The knobs and faders feel fairly smooth, but they have like a little bit of play to them, so they don't feel particularly high quality, but just like the buttons, they get the job done. Now I'm going to switch to an overhead view to give you a quick tour of all the ports as well as the buttons and the features the mixer has. And what you've been hearing so far is the Fine AM8 connected through the MaonoCaster mixer, and that's what you're going to continue to listen to once I switch to the overhead view. This is just so that you can get an idea of how this microphone sounds through the mixer without any post-processing, so you can judge it for yourself whether it's good enough for you. Alright, so checking out the inputs and outputs on this mixer. First, we have a DC 5 volt USB-C input. This is for you to connect it to a wall or charge the device. Then we have a USB-C input to connect it to your laptop or PC. On the left side of the mixer, you're going to have a button to power the mixer on or off. You're also going to have a button to enable or disable live monitoring. You're also going to have two 3.5mm live output jacks. This pretty much will output whatever is being processed by the mixer to a phone or tablet. You're also going to have a monitor or speaker 3.5mm jack, an aux in port, so you can also connect a smartphone and feed whatever the phone is playing to the interface, like music. You're also going to have a secondary mic port in the form of a 3.5mm jack, a mic setting switch, which will change the gain setting depending on the type of microphone that you're using. You have to the very left a condenser setting, and then two dynamic settings for 50 and 60 decibels respectively. You're gonna get a 1/4 inch instrument jack, and then you have your XLR port for your dynamic or condenser microphone. Lastly, on the front there are two 3.5mm headphone outs. Looking now at the top of the mixer, I'm going to go from left to right to let you know what each of the knobs and buttons do. You get an aux knob that pretty much adjusts whatever is playing through the aux jacks as well as through your PC. Below, there are separate volume faders for both microphone inputs. Under that, you can enable 48-volt phantom power for your condenser microphones. And next to it, you have a Bluetooth button so you can link the interface to a phone or tablet. Mind you, this Bluetooth feature works just like the aux jacks in the sense that you will be able to feed the interface whatever is being played through that device, but you won't be able to output the interface signal to the phone via Bluetooth. So if you talk to the microphone, it's not something you'll be able to hear on the phone if you're on a call or you're recording. Going back to the top, you have multiple knobs. The first three right here are sort of an onboard EQ, so you can dial your low, mids, and highs. I'm going to move them around a little bit so you can get an idea how they sound. Like for example, I'm turning the lows here, and as you can see, you're gonna be able to hear less of the lower frequencies. I'm gonna turn up the mids a little bit so you can probably hear a difference. And then I'm gonna move the heights a little bit so you can probably hear a difference as well. I'm going to bring them all back to where they were before. Next to that, you have an instrument gain and volume knob. And then the last one right here is your monitor and volume knob. Right below, you have an auto tune capacitive button. So if I touch it, it will turn on auto tune. This is, if you're singing or something, you might be able to hear me a little bit funny here. And then I'm gonna touch it and hold it so it can go off. Down in the middle, there are 11 customizable sound pads. None of them have any effects by default, so you will have to record your own. You can record up to 1 minute on the first three right here, and then 20 seconds on the other 8 at the bottom. This one right here basically loops continuously whatever you have recorded on any of those pads. On the top right corner, you have a Bluetooth and battery life indicator. Each dot basically represents a 25% increment. So right now it's like it's 75%. And then right below that, you have an main output volume that controls the overall volume of whatever the interface is output into your device of choice. Then you have another three knobs down here. This one controls the pad volume, so the volume of whatever you have recorded here. This pitch knob basically it'll change your voice. So if I turn it down here, I'm gonna sound
like a monster of sorts. And then
if I turn it up,
I'm gonna sound like a chipmunk, like a cartoon.
I'm gonna go back to normal. And then this knob controls the reverb volume pretty much. So if you have a reverb preset, right now I have it turned off. Yellow means off. So if I turn this on, this is now on karaoke. And if I increase this, the reverb, it's going to be like more pronounced as you can hear. If I turn it down, then there's going to be less of a reverb. This is a church preset. This is what it sounds like. This is a hall preset. This is what it sounds like. And this is a valley preset, and this is what it sounds like. This is a room preset, and this is what it sounds like. And I'm back to normal. Then next to that reverb button, you have sidechain. Sidechain basically lowers the music volume automatically while you speak, although you cannot control really how low you want the music to go. In my experience, sometimes the music just goes all the way down and you cannot hear anything. In other cases, I believe this depends on the platform, it lowers it to a really low volume, like you can still hear it, but it doesn't goes over your voice. Next, you have a music only button. This will attempt to cut off the vocals of the music that you have playing through the interface. This is like karaoke mode according to Maono. Personally, not a big fan of this. It sometimes doesn't cut through the vocals entirely or cuts instruments from the song that is playing. So not really reliable in my opinion. Then you have a dry wet button that will switch between only your voice or everything that has been fed into the interface. Then there's a loop back feature. Now this one's really cool. This will basically loop the music being fed into the interface into the mix. So if you're streaming, your stream will be able to hear music playing through your computer. This can be really useful if you want some background music playing for your audience while you stream or podcast. And then you have a denoise button, and what this will do is automatically cut background noise. This can be super useful in a pinch, but from my experience, it also really cuts the beginning and endings of your sentences. So I would normally just leave it off, but for the sake of testing and so you can see how it works, I'm gonna turn it on. Right now is on low. You may be able to hear less of the room noise now and more of my voice, but probably you will hear that it's cutting in and out some of the sentences. Now it is in the high setting, and in this mode is going to be really aggressive. It's going to really cut down into background noise, but it really cuts into the sentences. And now it's off. And like I said, this can be super useful in a pinch if you suddenly have tons of background noise in your stream or podcast and need something to take care of it live. This can be useful, really. Now, focusing on the things that could be improved, the layout for what you hear through the headphones when you have the headphones connected through the mixer can be confusing at the beginning. For example, both the aux and the monitor knobs control the volume of what you hear from the headphones if you have monitoring enabled. Like if you have music playing for your computer, these are essentially two identical volume knobs. If one is all the way down, you won't hear anything. I would have preferred to have monitoring for my mic completely separate from the aux volume control. Also, I would have loved seeing a mute button to instantly mute your microphone. With all the buttons this has on top, I think it's a missed opportunity. Like I said in the beginning as well, a second USB-C cable would have been appreciated since this isn't bus powered. And while this works with batteries, if you're not using it battery powered, you will essentially need two USB cables, one which is going to be used to have it plugged to an outlet. Also, instead of a separate instrument jack and a second 3.5mm microphone jack, I think a second XLR combo input would have been a lot better and more versatile for like a two-person podcast situation. Moving on, if you have both headphones and speakers connected to the mixer, there is no way to control their volume independently. Both will play at the same time and be controlled by the monitor and aux knobs. And lastly, what's up with all those logos, Maono? Like, we understand this is your product, but a simple logo at the top would have been enough. I think the extra logos on the knob makes this rather nicely featured and budget mixer look a bit tacky, but that's just my opinion. Now, for the pros, and like I've mentioned a few times already, this thing is nicely packed with features. Like, there's a little something for everybody here. Whether you're running a podcast, a live stream, the features this unit provides can be really useful for a lot of people. I also like the fact that you can use this pretty much with anything, your phone, tablet, or a PC. The preamp on this was very clean. I couldn't detect any noise or hiss coming out of the microphone in just regular use. And lastly, the price. You only pay like $95 at the time of this review. And to be honest, that is crazy affordable for all you get. Granted, I think that some of the features this has are a bit gimmicky, but they can be fun to play with on a stream. I think overall Maono did a great job with this mixer despite its shortcomings. If you'd like to pick this up, I'm going to have an Amazon affiliate link down below from where you can check it out. As usual, if you got any value out of this video, please consider leaving a like or subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Hit me up in the comments if you have any questions about this mixer, and I'll see you guys in the next one.